One of the deadliest cancers can often be prevented with a very simple test. Colonoscopies check for colorectal cancer, but many people are too self-conscious, sometimes a little bit shy, and they stay away from that procedure.
But for our Fox 29's Dave Kingen, it is personal. He signed up for the exam after losing his father to colon cancer.
He was one of the hardest working men in Chicago, responsible for all of the Sears stores in the United States as national accounts manager for Levi Strauss & Company back in the 80s. He was always big on fashion and even had a men's clothing store way back when. But more than anything, he was a devoted family man, very much in love with his beautiful wife and my mom, Vita. He was dedicated to his energetic daughter and my sister, Sydney. And of course, there's his little brat of a son. That's me in his lap at the arcade back in the day. And yep, I'm proud to say that David Alexander Kingen was my dad. I love family pictures, but it's always hard to look at them. You know, I was just 8 years old when my dad died of colon cancer. I didn't have many memories with him, but the memories I do have involve him getting thinner and very sick, and ultimately watching him waste away before he died at the age of 38, just 38 years old. I always had this fear that what happened to him could happen to me. I grew up afraid of two words, colorectal cancer, a terrifying disease that literally destroys from the inside. Simple abnormal tissues or tumors called polyps can develop in the walls of the large intestine, and sometimes they can become cancerous, spreading to other organs, eventually killing a person. That's what happened to my dad in 1991.
It's truly an equal opportunity offender. It affects people of all gender, of all race, of all ethnicity.
Dr. Gregory Ginsburg is the director of endoscopy and a professor at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania.
Patients don't develop symptoms until they generally have more advanced disease.
He says a colonoscopy is the best way to detect and prevent this kind of cancer. He says most people should get the test at age 50. But with my family history, it's different. My journey begins with clearing out the bowels. And believe me, this is the worst part. I started with prescribed laxative tablets, then mixed a bottle of Miralax with 2 jugs of Gatorade. For lunch today, beef broth. I'm restricted to a clear liquids diet, and I spent the evening, shall we say, on the go. The next morning, I'm tired and starving. Sporting a hospital gown, the nursing staff checks the vitals and gets me set up before rolling me into the exam room.
Here we go.
We meet Dr. Ginsburg's team, and they're ready to knock me out with some general anesthesia.
Just let yourself relax and drift off to sleep.
He says I won't remember much from the procedure, and quite frankly, I'm not sure I'd want to.
The endoscope is a flexible tube that has a light source on its tip and a very tiny video chip camera.
The procedure begins with Dr. Ginsburg carefully navigating the colon.
You okay?
While watching everything on this screen.
A tight little turn here that I'm trying to negotiate.
Everything receives rigorous scrutiny.
What we're doing is carefully examining each of these folds, looking for any abnormal growths of tissue.
But then, Dr. Ginsburg finds something.
And he's got a little area of inflammation here.
The colonoscope can also retrieve tissue samples, and that's exactly what Dr. Ginsburg does next.
And open and close.
This may be hard to watch, but the monitor actually shows the scope pulling a piece of suspect tissue for a later test. And before I know it...
All right, David, I'm happy to say that we are done.
My driving.
It takes me a little while to wake up. And I'm happy to have my first solid meal in a day. Some crackers chased with water. I then get the results of the exam and hear from Dr. Ginsburg.
I'm pleased to report that we found no evidence of any precancerous lesions or no polyps whatsoever.
It's very good news. And oh, the tissue they sampled, well, it turns out it was actually from an area irritated by the cleansing prep.
Everything went very well.
Well, I can't tell you what a relief it was to get the all clear, but with my family history, Dr. Ginsburg says I should have a colonoscopy every 5 years. Colon cancer may have taken my dad's life, but I still have his spirit, and he helped me save mine and hopefully will save other lives. By the way, our report is especially timely because next month is National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Guys?
You know, it's amazing. We appreciate you so much sharing your story, and I know it was tough to do. 50,000 people a year in the United States alone die from this. And we mentioned at the beginning of the story that sometimes that fear or that shyness keeps people from going and getting this done. What's the prep like going into this?
It's not fun, and that's one of the reasons people shy away. You know, clear diets or clear liquids for one day. You drink a solution and take laxatives that literally have you going around the clock, shall we say.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're hungry, you're tired, but you run to the diner after the thing is over.
You got to do it. I mean, it's
but it's
important
worth
to do.
it.
Yep.
Right,
It saves lives, absolutely.
Dave, very courageous. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.